Once you've completed prepping the skin, it's time to spot treat. So looking at my model's face, I've noticed that her under eye area could use just a little brightening, and I'm gonna go ahead and add a little warmth to the chin area as well. Grabbing one of the Perfect Canvas pastel color correctors that I can use directly onto the skin, we will go ahead and add no more than 3 to 4 drops to the airbrush. You use such a small amount of product. Go ahead and turn the compressor on, but make sure you're on a lower air setting and make sure you test the airflow on your hand or on a tissue and make sure it's spraying optimally. We are there. We want to make sure that she's nice and comfortable. And then keep your eyes closed for me. And we're just gonna gently swoop under the eyes, moving back and forth from side to side, letting it dry in between each layer. This is applying and blending the color corrector at once. So it's actually a time-saving method. While the eyes are drying, I'm gonna move down to the chin area. Get in there and just neutralize the deeper tone on the chin. I'm barely pulling back on the trigger. If I were to pull the trigger all the way back on this airbrush, all of the makeup would spray out at once. So we need to control how much makeup comes out each time. Now I have noticed a little bit of a spot right here on her right cheek. I'm gonna go ahead and just pulse on that trigger to delete those, and we'll check everything else. And open for me. Okay, close. I'm just gonna change the angle of my airbrush to focus underneath the lashes. Get up right underneath that lash line. If you need to add a little bit more product, add just a couple drops at a time so you don't spend a lot of time cleaning your airbrush out when you move from color to color. Once you've gotten to the right level of coverage, you can go ahead and move on to foundation. But here's the fun part. You do not have to clean your airbrush out completely before you do foundation. All we're gonna do is a quick clean here, and not even that, really. We're just gonna spray all of the pigment that's in there right now out onto my tissue. We're gonna wipe out the mixing cup, and then we're gonna move on to the foundation. Foundation, I think on her, I used 3/4 of the formula was the lighter shade. 1/4 was the deeper shade, which totaled about 10 drops of makeup. And then we're gonna go ahead and mix that up. And here's where it's important to spray into a tissue or paper towel, because what's gonna come out at first is gonna be a little bit of that peach corrector that I used, as you can see. But as I pulse on the trigger, I'm gonna start seeing the foundation shade that I'm gonna be using on her. And there we go. I can go ahead and adjust the air pressure up a little bit. And we'll go ahead and start wherever we want to on the face, as long as you're using overlapping controlled circles, back and forth in light buildable layers. Don't worry, we will get everything covered, but it happens in light buildable layers. 1 to 2 layers would be sheer coverage or lighter coverage. 3 to 4 layers would be medium, and above that would be full. So keep adding slowly until you get where you want to be with the coverage. Sometimes your client has a say in this, and sometimes they don't. Now, if you'll notice, I'm back bubbling this time to mix it up. You can do that. just don't spend a lot of time back bubbling, because if you back bubble too much, it could pull pigment backwards into the airbrush. So just a little bit. Close your eyes. We're going to go ahead and do pass number 2. Always make sure that your client keeps their eyes closed, but closed gently, no squinting. And then I do recommend their mouth be closed as well. I know clients like to talk a little bit, but this might be a time that you encourage them just to relax. If you're going to do coverage underneath the nose, announce that you're going to be under the nose and go quickly. Go ahead and hold your breath for me real quick. Pass through, let them breathe. Then go back in. Any more coverage you need to do under the nose, and then move on. Make it fast and make it very comfortable for your client. And we're going to go ahead and continue to layer until we achieve the level of coverage that we're looking for. So the great thing about airbrush makeup is you don't just have to stop at complexion. You can move on to contour, bronze, blush, highlighter, eyes, brows, hair. You get the picture. You don't have to stop at just complexion. So let's go ahead and just add on a couple extra features. We're going to start with contour. Go ahead and turn your compressor on. You want to be on the lower end of the air pressure right now, so it's easier to control the placement. We'll test it on a tissue first, and then we'll go ahead and apply. Remember, where the air is blowing is where the product is going. Now, I am currently using my hand to shield any overspray from going where I don't want it to, but I am not laying it down on the surface of the skin because I don't want to create a stencil, okay? Go ahead and move to the other side. I'm about 3 to 4 inches away from the face, and each pass is going to build that contour application a little bit more. Okay, and then of course you'll want to make sure that everything is even. Now we're going to move on to a little bit of blush. Don't be afraid of blush. All you have to do is operate on a little bit lower air pressure and keep that airbrush moving at all times. So I like to go in and actually start moving my airbrush in the pattern I'll be applying, and just practice. Make sure no air is blowing the hair around, because remember, where the air is blowing is where the product is going. So if you're aimed this way and she feels air on the tip of her nose, guess where the blush is going? So let's go ahead and make sure that we're aiming where we want it to. Lightly pull back on that trigger, overlapping every ounce of this blush, which is actually applying and blending all at once. You'll move back and forth between each side until you get it to the intensity that you're looking for. And if you do end up applying it a bit heavier in certain areas, you do have a little bit of working time, so you can actually go in and blend that out with a brush or a sponge before you move on. Next step, highlighter. Now remember, with highlighter, you are working with reflective pigments. So you do want to be on a little bit of a lower air setting where it's easier for you to control placement. And you do want to be a little bit closer to the skin so that you can prevent those reflective pigments from flying all over the place. So turn your compressor on, test it on your hand, and maybe a couple inches from the face. And we're placing this highlighter in the parts of the face that we are trying to accentuate. It's actually very easy to find because the light's already bouncing off of those areas. If you feel like you don't quite trust yourself yet and you want to prevent it from flying all over the place, go ahead and use your hand as a shield. And the great thing about highlighter is we can even go in and place it in other areas. Close your eyes for me. Let's go ahead and do inner corners of the eyes for a little extra pop. What about the Cupid's bow? Even a brow bone here or there. So there's a lot of uses for the highlighter, but we're actually going to show another highlighting technique with Brilliant Glow as well. With Brilliant Glow in the deep, medium to deep, I believe this is called, we're going to go ahead and use this on her clavicle. This would be a great technique for a special occasion, a red carpet, anytime someone is wearing a strapless dress and you really want to accentuate their bone structure, this is where Brilliant Glow comes in handy. But when you're applying airbrush makeup to a larger part of the body, you can turn that air pressure up a little bit and you can move a little bit further away as you apply. Now the medium deep shade also has a mild bronzing effect, nothing too extreme, but extremely beautiful. Sometimes you need just a little bit more, and we've got it. The shimmer bronzer is going to finish off this look. Now remember, it does have a reflective pigment, so let's control where we're placing it. Every face is different on where we're placing this product, but this shimmer bronzer has been a crowd favorite for years and a staple in every airbrush artist's kit. And you will see why in a second. And also so easy to apply. As I mentioned, airbrush makeup is applied in light buildable layers, which means anytime you need to make a slight adjustment, it's easy to go back in and do that. I don't know of any traditional makeup application that is that easy to adjust. So for example, let's say we want to see a little bit more of a pop on her cheeks. I can now go in and add a little additional color on her cheeks and quickly adjust this look.